Nice.
We'll start letting people in. All right. Yep.
Nice. I'm just gonna like loudly open this can of liquid death too.
Live your life.
Is it sparkling water or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, this is my new fave.
Yeah,
I went
right.
through I've been through many phases of my sparkling water journey.
Call me old fashioned coffee.
Nice, nice.
Hey, Kelsey.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey
Good.
guys.
How are you?
What's up, crew?
What else we got here?
What do we got? We got Encia, Chanel. We got who's on the phone? There's someone on the phone.
Nice.
It's Margarita. Hello.
Hey,
Oh,
Margaret.
Hey.
Sorry, my boss has hit me. Sweet. Kelsey, are you in San Diego right now? Or you were traveling for a bit, weren't you?
Yeah. But I'm in San Diego again.
Nice.
Yeah. Are y'all too?
Yeah, Brian and I are. Margarita was here for a weekend. We tried to set a little meetup up, but we couldn't make it happen.
Oh yeah.
But the next time.
Yeah. I think I went to Yosemite that weekend. Was it 2 weeks ago? The 13th? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think that's what it was. It's a good time of year to go to Yosemite. Sweet.
Yeah, it was great.
I'm trying to make it there. Maybe next year. It's the dream. But I'm terrified of bears.
Like legit?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Everyone's afraid of sharks, but no, me, like I watched I've always been terrified of bears, but I recently watched that bear documentary from uh Grizzly Man. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
No.
Parts
Oh
of
my
it.
God, it's so dark. And I'm just like, oh my God, that's my worst nightmare.
Thought you were gonna say cocaine bear.
That's just a Tuesday night, Kelsey. What's up,
All
Kelly?
right. What's up, Kelly? Good to see you.
How's it going?
Well, we're gonna dive in just for a little bit of context so we can keep this interactive and maybe we can tailor some of the stuff that we talk about. Does anyone have anything specifically that like excited you about the session today or that you maybe wanted to double click on?
I guess for me, pretty much always been squarely in demand gen and not always dealing with messaging and usually I've had like a product marketer to work with me on that. So I just like to just for me to become a better marketer, like to dive into that a little bit more. Since it's not something I've ever really owned, I guess.
Nice.
Love that.
Yeah, me too.
What got you excited, Kelly? You're on camera, so I'm gonna call you out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in an early stage startup, so I kind of wear every hat. So I often have to put on the product marketing hat and do that myself. And so honestly, selfishly, it's like just getting playbooks from outside my own purview and like what I'm used to, and just kind of curious of your approach on it. So
Nice. I love that.
Sweet. This is great. Yeah. That's, I think, why we were excited about bringing Mary on is because Mary is one of the best people, in my opinion, who is really good at demand gen and really good at product marketing. And so there's a lot of product marketers who aren't that and are stuck in product marketing and don't understand how you can kind of turn those things into actionable campaigns or insights or things that demand leaders can use. So that's why I'm really excited about your take on this, Mary, is it's like battle tested and it's like very usable for us to manage. And people, especially the ones of us like me who are at a really early stage company, don't have a product marketing person. So we got to do it
Nice.
all. Cool. Well, thank you all for joining. I'm really excited. As always, if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat or raise your hand and we can make this as interactive of a session as possible. If you don't know who Mary is, I don't know what's wrong with you, but she is famous on LinkedIn. She's the director of product and content marketing at Keough Software, which is a tool that makes it easy for anyone to review CAD and automates issue tracking so that engineering teams can design better products faster. How's that for a very clear description of what Collab does? Good
I'm
product.
stoked, Eric. That was good.
Or-
You studied it.
And then she was a head of marketing at Map My Customers, and she worked at Gorilla 76, which is a a great agency, and she co-hosts the Purposeful Marketing podcast. So yeah, we're going to talk about her messaging pyramid, which is this really cool framework we created. And then hopefully be able to dive into any more specific product marketing for demand gen related questions that people have. And then at the end of the conversation, I just like really selfishly want to ask Mary about how to use LinkedIn to accelerate career growth. So that's a complete detour, but if that's interesting to anyone else, we can go there as well. So that's it
Nice.
for me. Mary, you want to give us a quick, like, what's your story? Anything else you want to add there for color that'll help?
Yeah, that'd be awesome. So I started out actually in manufacturing. So that's kind of my background here. I worked for 7 years at an OEM, which is an original equipment manufacturer, and started out in technical writing, got really interested in marketing, marketed. It was a pretty large company, like close to $1 billion in revenue. And then so I started out in a really small section in R&D in their marketing department, had a lot of successes there, especially during COVID. We started a live event series, which manufacturing is extremely conservative. So a webinar series was like the newest, like greatest thing. So started out there, had a lot of success with that webinar series, moved into corporate marketing, then moved on into Gorilla 76, which Eric mentioned is a marketing agency that specializes in demand gen for industrial companies. Then I went to Map My Customers. So I was head of marketing there for about 9 months, implemented a lot of the stuff that we'll talk about today. And then now I'm at Collab. I've been at Collab for almost a year now, been loving it. And one of my like favorite marketers in the world, MJ Smith, is the CMO here. And she is a large reason why I chose to make the leap to Collab. So she already did a lot of the legwork that I'm going to talk about today. So that'll kind of help us like frame up and like how I was able to come in, use something that was already done. So Kelsey, this might be especially relevant for you. Like this was already done. So this is more like how I can adapt a messaging framework that's already been built. So first thing I'm going to do is just share my screen really quick. This is the post that Eric saw and was really excited about and said, hey, can you come talk about this messaging pyramid? So our messaging pyramid has these 5 components, and I'm going to share it with you today. And you'll see I also said, I have our messaging pyramid plastered on my computer background. I was not exaggerating. It's right here on my computer background. So this is the messaging pyramid. Sorry, it's kind of low quality, but this is what we use. So this is how it works at Collab. And I'm just going to walk you through each of these points in the messaging pyramid, who owns it, how we go about tying them together when we're creating content. And then if you guys have any questions, just sprinkle them in and we'll address them. Okay, so the tippy top of the messaging pyramid is your point of view. And this is a really interesting way to think about it, because you would think the base of the pyramid would be the first thing that you build. Technically, I would say the POV is the first thing you build. This is kind of like why your company exists. Usually this is founder or CEO led. This is not usually led by a marketer or a product marketer. This is really why your company exists. But the reason it's not on the bottom is you don't really talk about your POV in the market very often, especially if you're at an early stage company. You're more focused on selling the features, selling the core capabilities, not so much on selling the point of view. As you get larger and larger, the point of view becomes more important. But since we are still we're Series B, so we're still fairly early stage in our startup journey. So point of view is at the top, and we don't talk about it very often. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. So big point of view, founder-led, why we exist. Then we move into positioning and the category narrative, or the strategic narrative, as I call it. So strategic narrative is really just putting into words how your point of view relates to your customers. And in my opinion, this is the framework that we use at Collab. This is Andy Raskin's The Greatest Sales Deck I've Ever Seen. If you just Google that, you'll find this article. And he walks you through the 5 elements of a perfect sales narrative or strategic narrative. This is the exact framework we use at Collab. So every single point is in our strategic narrative. We have exactly seven slides that walk any new prospect through this narrative. And it's also the framework that I used at Map My Customers. So definitely a relevant thing. And important thing to note is it can be marketing owned. So marketing can own the strategic narrative. We have POV owned by the founder, the leadership team. As we start moving down the pyramid, marketing starts to own more and more pieces of that. So for Collab, MJ was really responsible for putting the strategic narrative into words, but she still required a lot of input from our CEO founder. So I think that's a really important part. So while she was facilitating the discussion, she wasn't necessarily coming up with all of the answers. This was something that really needed to be done by the entire leadership team. Okay, so then we'll move down. So value prop. We can also call this use cases. So this is how do your customers use the product that matches the strategic narrative. So it's really what problems do you solve and how are your customers using your product to solve those problems? Probably our number one use case is design review. When I was at Map My Customers, which I'll show you a little bit about up here too. So Map My Customers is a mapping tool for sales teams. And not surprisingly, the number one use case was mapping. So really pulling out, so what use cases are doing is just pulling out the really big areas, the big problems, the big solutions that your customers are using your product for. So that's where value prop comes in. Now we move down. Now we move into core capabilities. So our core capabilities are the big buckets of your product that match a use case. So for something like design review, we have secure file sharing. That's a really big issue. So design review, huge part of design review for engineers is they're just sharing CAD. So they're just giving other people access to CAD. Where this is a problem is you have to have a specific CAD license normally. CAD is IP protected, so there's usually a lot of restrictions on who can access it and who can open it. So what Collab does is say, you can actually share your CAD with anyone. They don't need a CAD license, and the connection is secure. That's really, really important. So this is a big, big core capability. Same thing with contextualized feedback. So that is, you can go into a 3D model, pin feedback, and you can just like type in, oh, you need to, change this bracket, let's say, as an example. This is really interesting because a core capability has to be also a unique differentiator. You can't do that with any other product on the market today. Same thing with automated tracking. So we're tracking all of these issues automatically. So these big, big buckets, we have nothing. Everybody could hear something like secure file sharing, and you kind of instantly know what that means. When we move into features and attributes, this is what we're talking about probably most frequently in our content, especially on the website. These are kind of your named features. So if I were to come to this talk today and say something like, we use portals, you guys would be like, cool, I don't know what portals is. I have no idea what this means. So that's when you kind of start moving up the pyramid and start tying all of these messaging frameworks together. So portals is a way for you to securely share files with other people in your supply chain. Why would you want to do that? We have our use case right here, supplier collaboration. So suppliers are an external person. We want to collaborate with them so that they can input feedback in their design. Why would they want to do that? So that design teams can catch mistakes earlier and get to market faster. So that's kind of how we can start tying all of those features and all of those things together within the messaging pyramid. Okay, so if I were you, I'd be like, that's nice. How do you actually do that? So I'm going to walk you through a couple key pages on Collab's website and talk you through how we put this into practice. So the number one way we do this is our Why Collab page. This is one of our highest converting pages. It's one of our highest trafficked pages. So this is, if you come to company and go to Why Collab, that would be right here. Okay, so big thing. The way you're doing design reviews is holding you back. Okay, we've got a value prop. That's like a big one. We just named it. We just named design reviews. As we move down this page, we start addressing that problem more deeply. So here's where you can almost see our strategic narrative right in this piece right here. So this is most critical product decisions are made. Teams and assemblies are getting more complex. You can kind of see that big POV starting to take shape here. And now we're going to move down. So what does that look like as we're moving into our value props? Okay, this is, you need a new way for your engineering teams to work together. Here are some ways that they might change the way they work together. As we move down the page, now we're introducing this new way to work. So the core capabilities, now we're going to start introducing core capabilities. Core capability, active participation easy. So we make it easy. If you look in here, this is like where it starts to get really fun. Now we're starting to name features and show features. So you can start to see how this page is kind of going from big kind of like meaty concept. The way that engineering teams work together needs to change. Okay, how? Like, tell me how. Like, give me a solution. Okay, we need to make active participation easy during design review. So we have that core capability, we have a value prop, and then we start talking about features in each of these sections. So as we move down, each of these is just a separate core capability where we're also showing some really cool features. Got some social proof, kind of, fun stuff there. Okay, great. This is one example. Big strategic. This is what we call kind of our strategic narrative page. Now we'll go into our product overview page. So product overview page, again, we are naming a big core use case. We're going to kind of bring that to the top. Boom. Okay, what is Collab? It's this collaboration platform. So now we're talking big, meaty thing. We're talking about a value prop here. Collaboration platform for design reviews. As we move down the page, now we get into features and benefits. So the really interesting thing here is we have request reviews. That is not a named feature. That is something that will instantly click with our ICP. They're like, oh yeah, I request design reviews all the time. It's just that the way they request them is a little bit different than the way that Collab helps you request these. So that's when we'll start now getting into the details of what it looks like to request a review in Collab. Same thing when we see model interrogation. Every engineer knows what model interrogation means. It basically means you hop into CAD, you open it up, and you get to play around with it. Really, really fun. But in Collab, it's a little bit different because anybody with any CAD license can come in here and interrogate the model. So we can go through each of these, but you'll see we even have like take a tour. You can explore deeper and deeper into these features. But this is kind of like how we're using our messaging pyramid to create all of our content. And again, I'm showing you the highest converting pages, the most traffic pages. These aren't so that I'm not showing you just like really nice fluffy things that we've created. These are pages that actually work. Same thing when we get into our design review use case page. So we have this big use case. We have a value prop. So what we're going to do now is dive into core capabilities, design review quality, and then how right here we're diving into really meaty features and benefits. So how Collab actually helps you get higher design review quality. And as you move down the page, we're doing that with each different value prop. I'm going to pause there until we get to the next big page. Does anybody have any questions yet?
I have a quick question on the
Yeah.
page you were just showing. I think the product overview. You don't mind going back to that really quick?
Okay.
When you scroll down and you were going over those main, yeah, how does it work? Would you say those are capabilities or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So these top ones, that's why I tried to highlight that these are not named features.
Right.
Because everybody in our ICP is going to know exactly what we mean when we're using each of these tabs. So I tried to like make it easy for you guys because I figured you guys aren't going to know what model interrogation means, but everybody in the engineering world will know what it means.
Okay. So would you say, when you say named features, would you mean like, is that unique to Collab?
Yes.
Versus like the capabilities are more well in verbiage that's more well known to the ICP. Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Cool.
Yep. And so when this becomes really interesting if any of you guys, like Kelly, I know you said you're playing a little bit of the product marketer role. When we're doing new feature launches, we are never naming the feature in the actual announcement. We are telling our customers what that feature enables. So we're bringing it back up to a core capability. A really interesting example of that. So if you come to our website, you can go to all of our product updates over here. So that one was kind of boring, not gonna lie. Okay, this one was really cool. So this one was a bunch of our customers do hundreds of reviews a year. And they're like, every time I go into Collab, I have to create a brand new review. It would be really cool if I just had a template that I could just select from and then put it out there. So not surprisingly, it's called review templates. But in our announcement, so in the email announcement and in the Pendo guide that we had pop up for customers, it was never start from scratch again. So never start a review from scratch again. So you're instantly like, okay, boom. You're not saying introducing, review templates, which people may or may not connect the dots, but every single person who this is relevant for is going to know the pain of having to start a design review from scratch every single time. So that's like just one example of how we use that messaging pyramid and even just like everyday things like a features launch.
Quick question. So on the messaging pyramid, do you have like kind of a universal doc where you've compiled sort of the core messaging at each stage and use that as reference when you're building out all the content, or are you kind of doing it fresh with every kind of feature that you develop?
Yeah, so I would say we have it nailed down. POV is documented. Our category narrative, strategic narrative is documented. We have it as a slide deck. So that example I showed from Andy Raskin, the sales pitch, we literally have that exact sales pitch deck. Same thing with value props. We have it like all in Notion, which is kind of like our one-stop shop for documents for Collab. We have it all documented there. As we get further down the pyramid, it becomes a little bit less, I wouldn't say documented because we have all of them listed, but it becomes a lot less connected to the whole messaging pyramid. So that really falls then, and this goes back to the ownership thing. As you move down this pyramid, it really falls on marketing to kind of translate some of these features into like how this is going to be received by the market. That's a really good question. We probably should be better at documenting them.
And then, sorry, one more follow-up on that.
Yeah, please.
When you're building out that page, are you, could you walk me through like kind of how you're thinking through like the structure of the page and like how you're, I'm trying to wrap my mind around, are you actually thinking through the pyramid, like at the top or kind of at the top piece of it, I want it to start here and I'm building out the page elements kind of in line with the pyramid? Is that kind of how you approach it?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that question because I was going to show you some of our best converting landing pages right now in demand gen. So this is one example of those. This is a big high level problem that our customers experience related to the strategic narrative. So a lot of engineering companies, they want to launch products faster, but they just can't because their processes are so slow. And right now, what we're hearing in the market, what we're hearing from our customers is, I've tried hiring more engineers and that's just not working. So we just took that and ran with it. So that's our big problem right here. Launch products. You want to launch products faster. You need to stop hiring more engineers and start fixing your design review processes. So that's kind of the big one. So yes, Kelly, to your point, I'm going to take you through exactly how we went from strategic narrative toward the top all the way down to features and benefits within Collab. So we have here, boom, big idea. We're going to explain that big idea. Here, I'm going to send this to you guys too so that you guys can kind of play with this a little bit. Hold on one sec. There you go. Okay, so we have explanation. Okay, so this is actually a true story. So everybody in our ICP knows this. Some big company canceled a multi-million-dollar, multi-year contract because they stopped delivering on time. So they were like, all right, that's it. We're done with you. And it like shocked everyone because they were like, oh my gosh, if we don't start delivering on time, we're going to lose our most lucrative profits, like our most lucrative contracts. So this is like the big problem that we honed in on. So here's, you know what, you're not delivering fast enough, so you're delaying product launches. You think the only thing that you have in your control is to hire more engineers, more people, but you actually need to fix your upstream engineering processes. And the fastest way to do that is design review. So in that paragraph just now, we tied our strategic narrative to a use case / value prop. Okay, so we have that connection there. Now, as we move down the page, we're going to connect that value prop design review to our core capabilities. So here's just kind of like a deeper dive. Engineers love data. So of course we have a lot of data to support this hypothesis. So in this part, we're just kind of supporting that core claim that you should stop hiring and start fixing your design review process. And here's where we start to introduce the better tools. So now we're going to start to say, okay, you guys need to stop doing all the dumb stuff that you're doing in your design review process today, replace it with the core capabilities of Colab. So here's like what you can do with Colab that you can't do in any of your engineering processes. So here's literally our core capabilities like listed out on this graphic. So now we've tied our value prop design review to our core capabilities within Colab. Contextual, engaging reviews, self-documenting. It's a frictionless experience. And now we're going to dive into social proof. So we didn't do a ton of with the features, but you can see how we tied that big strategic narrative all the way back down to just basic core capabilities. And like I said, high converting page, like I'm not just showing you stuff that's just like we made it just to be fun. Like actually people are converting on this page. Okay, cool.
This is
So-
sorry, go
Yeah,
ahead.
go ahead here.
I was just gonna say this is awesome. First of all, super helpful.
Nice.
I love how, and I'm gonna make an assumption, but I love how this lets you like test how much different use cases or capabilities resonate with different segments because it's all like so clearly structured and segmented out. So like I feel like this happens in a lot of companies where everyone just has different opinions and ideas about what different messaging should look like, but there's no way to clearly test it. And that looks like in paid ads, you're just like running a bunch of different ads that someone just thought of against each other. But here there's like a really clear way to you run a value proper use case ads to a value proper use case landing page with the core capabilities. And then you can see like how each of those pages convert with those different messages. And then that really clearly shows you like, here's what different use cases or capabilities or problems are resonating most with our market, which I think is really cool. Does that happen?
Yes, that's actually exactly what we do. So if I were to pop into our ad account today, it would be like, okay, here is our big problem aware. So big problems campaign. So we're going to do a big problem jobs to be done campaign. So we're going to address like strategic narrative problems. And then that's its own campaign. Then we have our own like product aware campaign. So that's where we're going to start to address core capabilities and features. So yes, we do segment it out that way. And to your point, Eric, we saw such a huge increase in engagement to conversion when we did that like seamless ad experience. So I think the temptation too is to either go a little bit too far down the funnel in a campaign or go too high level and then try and connect it to a feature too quickly. So what we found is really when just in the ad experience, so just the graphic, the ad copy, you can mess around on the landing page, but just in the ad itself, stick to one level. So stick to just your strategic narrative. So we're only to your, I'm going to back up here. So like this, for instance, this is the ad that we ran, this literal, just this guy. And all it talked about was the problems. All we talked about is you keep hiring, you need to fix your process. Like you think the only lever you can control is hiring. You are getting multi-million-dollar contracts canceled. Like all of this stuff we just kept talking about. So then when you get to the page, you're like, oh, cool. Yep. So I'm in the right place. All of those ads keep telling me I need to stop hiring and start fixing. And then you start to draw them in as you get into the landing page. But I think to your point, Eric, it's really important in the ad account itself to stay on a level.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you said you have like problem aware ads, which are just educating about the problem, and then product aware. Are the product aware ads to people who you think have some level of engagement? So to people who have like website visitors to specific pages or like engagers or something along those lines?
Yeah,
And
that's
then
exactly what we do.
marketing
So
okay, that makes sense.
yeah, we'll do like cold brand awareness campaigns to stuff like this. So big problems that people are experiencing. As we move down, we'll do either like retargeting campaigns or like really get granular in some of our job title specific campaigns as we get into like use cases. And then core capabilities and features are almost exclusively retargeting.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. I love this word capabilities. I've always struggled to be like feature and benefit. And I'm like, isn't there something in the middle where like
Yes.
Gong, for example, it's like you can record calls so that you can get more revenue or you can increase win rates. But it's like, what's the thing in the middle? That the thing in the middle is like so that you can monitor all of your team members and understand where they're going wrong, or so that you can like deliver coaching or something. So that is like that was a big unlock for me in understanding. Like I feel like most early stage startups, at least, they need it.
Yes,
Anthony
Do a good
100%.
job of
talks a
showing
lot about
capabilities.
that stuff, and that so I highly recommend following him for anyone on this call who doesn't.
Totally. Yeah, he's where I got it from. Okay. Kelly?
Yeah, I had one quick question on
Please.
on the page itself. Um, what sort of iteration did you go through in terms of like testing out the copy? And like obviously you ended up with a really like high converting page, but I'm assuming it was, you know, a work in progress. Did you like try out different styles of copy and even like visual elements? Like I'm kind of curious what the testing for how to end up at that kind of like high engaging and yeah. And are you like watching where the engagement is on the page? Like that's kind of what I'm curious about.
Yeah, awesome questions. So like answer is basically yes. So we use Microsoft Clarity to do like heat mapping and scroll depth and all that kind of stuff. So we are monitoring that. When it comes to the landing page itself, we don't do a lot of like minor compares with landing pages. We will A/B test headlines, but that's it. So when we are only A/B testing this part right here, we won't A/B test like anything down the page. What we'll do and why I have this pulled up is we'll launch two big idea campaigns at the exact same time. So in this one, we have you need to launch products faster, stop hiring, start fixing your process. And in this one, we have, oh, sorry. You're brute forcing product development and it's not working anymore. So this one was a totally different idea. This is you're burning out your engineering teams, which is another problem we were hearing from customers, which is your engineering teams are doing so much work that you are burning them out because you're forcing them to use bad processes and bad tools. So that's like the second big idea. But as you move down this page, which I'll share with you guys in the chat, this part is a little bit different. So when we're introducing the concept, but as you move down the page, you'll notice, especially here, we start to use the exact same messaging that we knew worked on this page, which is we start to introduce the better processes, start with better tools. So we'll use a lot of similar, and then here's where we really get into it, that engineering tool gap. So we'll use a lot of elements that we know work really well, but the big tests are really in that big idea concept phase.
Is this triggering any like insights for people or ideas that you're excited about? You're like, oh, this is awesome. I want to like change this thing about how I work right now.
I will say it was really hard. It's still really hard to get our marketing team on board for this because it is a shift in how you think. Like I think Kelsey, you said like, hey, we're really siloed. Like I have my product marketing team who sends me the messaging and like I do with it what I can. We have like our product marketer is not surprisingly because they own this features and attributes category, they get really stuck in this. So it's really hard for them to then connect features and attributes to a value prop. So the way that I have done it is like I've really challenged my teams to start like kind of expanding and broadening their thinking. And I think the number one thing that helps the most is just like shifting their point of view to being the customer. So like, if you were the customer reading this, would you get it? Like, would you understand? Like, I showed you review templates. Like, if you just got an email that said introducing review templates, would you open it? And the answer is almost always like, no, I probably wouldn't open it because it sounds really freaking boring. But if you saw like never start a review from scratch again, that's like, oh crap, like that sounds awesome. Like I would definitely open that email. So I think like just like helping them move that shift forward has been really helpful, but it has been difficult. Like it's not an easy shift to do once you start kind of adapting this. Let's see. Anything else you guys want to chat about? This is really fun.
All right.
I don't
Awesome.
have questions, but that was great. I really appreciate you sharing with us.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. I was just going to jump in and say, like, I think this is really interesting. And I feel like as you were speaking, I was thinking about how AI like is introduced like into this framework as like an add-on. And like in reality, a lot of times it's a feature, like not a core capability. And so I'm like, we don't have a PMM team right now. So I'm kind of, doing like PMM things as it relates to my like dissemination of content. So I'm like, ooh, I'm like really interested to kind of like use this to reframe some of my ads because I think a lot of people are having a hard time kind of like, is it a feature? Is it a core capability? Like how is it like kind of what you're saying, product or like problem aware, like what's going on there? And there's like a lot to tackle. So this was super helpful, and especially when it relates to like thinking about AI and how we want to position it.
Yeah, I mean, we're struggling with the same thing because we're introducing some AI functionality also. And it's like, that's probably the hardest thing as you introduce this thing that everyone knows what it is. Like everyone knows what AI is, but it's really about what is AI enabling in your platform? Like what can you actually do with AI? And I think that's to your point, Chanel, like the big miss with some companies who are like, we're the AI platform that enables blah, blah, blah. It's like, I don't understand why I need AI to do that. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
very it's a very interesting thing to see, like that product marketing kind of in the real world.
And I think with that, what you're saying too, like people get more like because everyone knows what AI is, like, but it's kind of ubiquitous. Everybody goes like product aware, like that's what people are trying to do. But it's like no, like AI, people don't really know what AI is, especially as it relates to your industry first. Like let's start there.
Yes.
Like why do you need, in my case, like conversational AI? Like what is that specifically, and why does it? What's the problem that it solves, rather than being like, we're dial pad AI. And it's like, people don't even know what conversational AI is really yet.
Yeah, totally. I actually really respect Eric, you mentioned Gong. Like we use Gong. I love them. And I really respect the way that they kind of like slowly introed AI. Like when you go into the platform, you could just like search the call transcript first. So just like you could ask it a question like, what questions did the customer ask during this call? And it'll list it and it'll show you like the little clips. No big like shakes. They didn't like change their name to Gong, the AI platform or anything like that. So I just thought that was like a really good way to like slowly introduce AI capabilities for customers.
Yeah, that's great. Chanel, where does that come from? Is it like the okay, you just said it in the chat. I was gonna ask. And well we
Oh,
can
wait,
we can
Engagement. What does the engagement with like customer research look like? Like when do you get involved with trying to understand like the value prop with the customer? Because I assume there's like an ongoing like cadence of meeting with customers, and like how does that form your sort of feature release messaging, and maybe like how you approach those calls is just kind of in general.
Yeah, so the product team handles most of the customer research. We have I'm really happy with how customer focused Collab is. It's like very refreshing from coming from companies that maybe weren't as customer focused. The problem with that though is like marketing has very little access to customers actually. So we like sit in on a lot of the meetings or watch a lot of the recordings. So the way that it usually goes is product will get a request for a feature. So I'll do that review template as an example. So product's like, okay, we're hearing this more and more. Let's go dive into some customer research. So we'll interview 5 customers. What are you looking for to get out of review templates? What problems are you having? How do you expect this to function? This is all product team led, but product marketing will sit in on that call. So we'll be just like actively listening. We can ask questions if we want to. So we have all of that background knowledge. Then what product team is doing is they start building it. And as they're building it, they are doing a jobs to be done framework. So they're kind of laying it all out for us in product marketing, which is really nice because they've kind of done the firsthand customer research. And then what product marketing does is translate all of that into a features release.
And then one other question is, do you guys have any like customer expansion campaigns where you use feature as the catalyst? You talk through that.
Yeah, for sure. So we do a lot of expansion because if you look on our website, we have like a lot of big logos, which is really fun. But the problem is, and if you have any enterprise customers, I'm sure you can relate, is each team operates as its own business unit. So just because we are in what's one of the big ones? Polaris. Polaris is a huge company. We're actually only in this really small business unit in Polaris, and what we need to do is like expand to the other business units in Polaris. So what we'll do is kind of, okay, what team are we in Polaris? What use case do they have? How can we position this recent features release to appeal to the other business units? And then we'll usually either do like customer success will reach out to their champion and say, hey, can you introduce me to so-and-so in this other business unit? Yeah.
That's awesome. Anything else? Other questions? Idea? Okay, Mary, we're gonna take a sharp 90-degree turn.
All right, let's do it.
We have a couple minutes left, and I just selfishly want to talk to you about using LinkedIn to accelerate career growth.
Nice.
So first of all, can you just give me a picture of like how beneficial it's been? Like you built this brand on LinkedIn, you've like become well networked. Can you just give me a picture of like what does that look like in your day-to-day? Like what are the main benefits that you've experienced from it?
Yeah, the main benefits I've experienced, especially in the past couple years, like moving into more of like a leadership role, is consultants. So I can reach out to almost anyone in marketing and be like, hey, what are you doing that's working? And because they know me fairly well, they're willing to like share knowledge with me. So I can hop on a 30-minute call with, I don't know if any of you guys follow Todd Clouser. He's like, does a lot of like the creator stuff. He does a lot of video work. He took this one YouTube channel from like 200 subscribers to like 2 million or something like that. So I can just like DM Todd Clouser and he's like, yeah, sure, Mary, I'll like hop on a call with you and tell you how to grow a YouTube channel. So that's like one main benefit. Probably the biggest one and the one I didn't expect is I haven't had to apply to a job in like my past 3 roles. Like all I had to do is just message someone and say, hey, this sounds cool. And they're like, cool, you're in. Like you don't need to fill out a resume, you don't need to do an application, like just you're in. So that's like the really like probably why I will continue to post like forever is just I don't ever want to have to apply to a job again. So those are the 2 biggest ones. Let's see, what else has it kind of enabled? I
You're like
think
a product marketer, so you need your like 3 benefits.
yeah, exactly. I
Considered
need
too.
my top 3. Let's see. I think like the local connections have actually been really interesting. So I'll get like a message from someone that's just like, hey, I follow your content. I'm in Charlotte. Do you want to like meet up for coffee or something like that? That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah,
Awesome.
that love it. It makes sense too. It's like totally worth it. Just those 2 things,
Yes.
consult and
Free
not having
consulting and never having to apply. Yeah.
right. Yeah. So I'll frame this as someone like me is like earlier in my career. I like posted on LinkedIn. I have like a little bit of an audience, or if you just haven't posted at all, like what would you do to achieve that? What would you do to build kind of a brand or credibility for yourself? And any like mistakes and learnings that you made early in the process that if you were starting over, you would try to avoid?
Yeah, I think so the top three, the reasons I've given this talk before, so you'll notice I have like my three things. I think the top three most important things if you're gonna start posting on LinkedIn is quality, consistency, and reach. So quality, you have to post high quality content. Like the content that's being released today, everyone's attention levels are just so low that if your content isn't super high quality, no one's gonna pay attention. So that would be the number one. The second one is consistency. So if you're just getting started out, you have to post 3 to 5 times a week. It's really, really hard, but you just have to do it. Like that's kind of the bar right now. And then number three, obviously, is reach. So most of us, I think, at this point are probably over that 1,000 connections place, but I think that's kind of the bar. So if you're under 1,000 connections today, you got to get to that 1,000 connections before you post enough, frequently enough to a large enough audience.
Okay, that's sweet. Can we talk about quality? I feel like
Yes.
everyone the LinkedIn growth playbook for personal brands seems to be I test a bunch of different stuff and then I find like angle and content that works
Yes.
and then I just run with that and double down. Um, if that's the experience you have, like how do you get there, I guess is the question.
Yeah, so the way I started, and like if we're talking about like mistakes to avoid, this is what I would avoid if I were starting over today, is I posted a lot of like pure educational content. Like just this is how you do demand gen, like this is how you create a LinkedIn campaign, let's say. And it's like everyone knows how to create a LinkedIn campaign. I can go into Google AI and it'll tell me that in 5 seconds, like that's not valuable anymore. What is valuable is something like I used to create LinkedIn campaigns this way. Now I do it this way, and here's why. So it's more like what foundational piece did you start with? Where did you end up? And like what has that impact been? So like a specific example I would give in that instance is like I used to create LinkedIn campaigns to 200,000 person audiences. And not surprisingly, my budget was gone in like 10 days. And that was a month of my budget. So what I do now is I go to more niche audiences. Here's what my messaging looks like. So like taking people through that process, I think is really valuable. And like sharing your personal experiences, I think resonates the most.
Yeah, it's like you can break quality into uh substance, which is like the educational thing. Like, are you saying something of substance? And then like the wrapper, which is like, do you wrap
Yes.
your same way?
Yes.
We were like, you need to you need to like dip the vegetables in chocolate, which is a weird metaphor, but it's like if you're selling, you're trying to get people to consume vegetables, which is content, you need to like make it taste good, which chocolate isn't the right way. But anyways,
Ranch dressing?
yeah, something. Yeah, better. I'll change that metaphor. You have this like skill for the wrapper part and like the dipping stuff in chocolate, which I've already seen through this call, where like even just on the fly, you were like, is the email better this way or is it framed better in this way? Right? Is that a skill that you developed over time, or do you think it's just like an innate thing?
No, definitely developed it over time. Yeah, I
Okay,
think
so
you have to.
how do you do that? Any
Writing more. I seriously think like just writing more and like getting out your ideas, and like you have to do it publicly because the more that you get feedback from an audience, the better it is. So the messaging pyramid post that I did that, when Eric reached out and got me on Demand Collective today, it was just like, hey, like I need to post this. Here's what I found out isn't working. Like some of my longer stuff isn't working as well. So I'm just going to post this really fast, short thing. And it like blew up. But I needed that feedback. And then I can start like applying that to my next one. Like what hooks are working? How do I structure the post? Like all of that stuff matters.
Mhm. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really cool. It's like such a cool opportunity we have where you used to become a better writer, you would just write stuff and then you weren't sure if it was good or not. And then you
Yeah.
to your girlfriend and she'd be like, this is great, you're awesome. But now we have LinkedIn where you can like post stuff publicly just in an effort to clarify your thinking and get better.
Yes.
And you'll get immediate feedback and you'll get the other benefits, which is like way more career opportunities, better network consultants, etc. So yeah, it's a cool cool opportunity we have.
Yeah, LinkedIn is definitely the
Utilizing.
place I would still choose to do it too, because it's the kindest one. Like,
Yeah.
people are tied to like their direct profiles and they have their work history, so they're not going to be like trolls
Yeah,
for the
totally.
most part.
Yeah. Twitter is a a scary
Exactly.
place
Twitter,
for a kid who
Reddit.
grew up on LinkedIn. Yeah.
Oh my
Uh,
God, even threads to a certain extent can be pretty brutal.
yeah. Um, awesome. Any other questions on this topic? We're gonna start seeing posts from you now, Kelly.
Yeah.
Maybe. Maybe.
Dude,
I think a lot.
you do really good work, and you have really valuable insights from every time we've talked. So
Yeah, that's
I think
fair. I
you should do
appreciate
it.
it. Yeah, someday maybe. I think right now I'm still in the shadows trying to figure things out. So before I come into the light, I have to, do all my things. So
No, I get that. I will tell you though, Kelly, when my growth, like it was already pretty high before I joined Map My Customers, like it was good. When I joined Map My Customers and just started sharing exactly what I was building publicly, it like skyrocketed. And that's where I really found that it's like that personal experience piece like really matters. Like you telling people exactly how you're doing it and why you're doing it the way you are, like just really sets you apart. I'll show you like an example. This is probably one of my more popular posts.
Yeah, that was your like formula that clicked, Mary. I think it was like you had valuable substance that was like more valuable than most people, but then your like lens was, and then you had the like it was you talked a lot about marketing fundamentals, which I think other people didn't talk about as
Yeah.
much. And then the lens was like as a head of marketing who's actually done this and is a practitioner. Those
Yes.
things, like when it clicked, at least for me watching from the sidelines, that's what it seemed like.
No, 100%. I would totally agree with you.
I cut you off there. What were you saying?
No, that's it. That I totally
Right.
agree with you. Like, I think that's when it really took off. Like when you can actually like show you're applying it and show how it's working.
Yeah, it's nice for us marketers because we're like creating content for other marketers usually, so we can have like somewhat of a litmus test of what we would want um, from content. The other cool thing about LinkedIn is you can see all of the like engagement from all the other posts, and so you
Yes.
can like, reverse engineer what's working and what isn't, which is just like a cool thing. All right. Well, we're at time, Mary. Thank you so much for covering
Yes.
both
This
of
was
these
so
things
fun.
with me. This is awesome. Like I said, feel free to post this on your podcast as well if you like. Just give Demand Collective a little shout out.
Will
Um,
do.
otherwise, anything else that you I don't know, people who listen to this that you want to plug or what you'd like people to do?
No, if you have any questions after watching it, just reach out to me on LinkedIn.
Sweet. All right. Thanks, Mary. This is awesome.
Heck
Have a great
yeah.
rest of your
Thanks, Mary.
Yeah, you bet, guys.
Thank you,
Thanks so much.
everyone.
Bye.
Appreciate
Appreciate
it.
it.
Thank you. Bye.